Welcome back to the shop. Today we're going to continue on with the journey on this 260Z. For some of you who have been keeping up, you've probably seen this in the previous video about the story behind it, but for some of you who haven't, this is a 1974 Datsun 260Z. It only has 10,000 original miles on it. And we're going to be going through it and getting it road ready. We're not going to be restoring it. We're not going to be rebuilding everything on it. We're just going to restore components on it that have been sitting a long time and safety concerns, things like that. What we're going to start on is the brakes today. We don't need to discover if there's any issues with the brakes. They've been sitting so long that we're just going to redo the entire system. We're going to take the calipers, we're going to take the wheel cylinders, master cylinder. They're all going away and we're putting new components on. We're not going to test them because we know they're bad. They're old. So the first thing we're going to start with is the master cylinder. On this system, most of the fluid is gone. The system is totally trashed. So we're going to start with undoing the brake lines underneath there. I've got rags in place to pick up any drips or anything that comes out, but I don't think it's going to be much of anything. The system looks pretty dry. And I'm going to show you inside the reservoirs just how bad this system is and why we're doing the entire system. It's not even worth messing with. So the first thing I'm going to show you is I'll take these caps off. And the rubber's all melted. It's like chewing gum. There's that. This one's almost as bad, but not totally there yet. I'll take these little screens out. It looks like sugar granules or something. So as you just saw, you looked in there, there's really hardly any fluid in there. There's just granules of, I think it's deteriorated plastic. So we're going to take the lines loose down below. I don't think we're going to have to worry about fluid dripping all over anything. I don't think there's hardly anything in it or anything that's liquid. It's probably solidified the way it looks. The first thing we're going to do is break loose the lines, which are on the bottom down here. There's two, and as I suspected, it's dry. There's nothing there. So actually it's kind of good. I don't have to worry about fluid going everywhere on this. So the next step is going to be unbolting from the brake power booster. This has like an adapter plate or something on it. We're not going to be taking these nuts loose. We're just going to be taking the ones loose that mount the actual master cylinder here to the adapter. Normally by now I'd probably be using my flashlight in my mouth, but I have this light here that Milwaukee has sent me. It's been pretty handy. It's got rubber grips on it so it doesn't hurt the paint job or hurt anything. And you can hang it off of a hood. You can aim it wherever you want it. So it's been pretty handy in the shop to have that. And pretty big fan of Milwaukee tools. They also sent me a handy dandy ratchet that we'll be using today. It's been leaking out of there too. Okay, I'm going to clean out this bore in here. Okay, we got it clean inside of there. Sanded off the corrosion that's in this bore. So the next thing we're going to go do is take off the rubber flex lines at each wheel, and we're going to blow through these lines and flush these out before we put the master cylinder on. So this little lift I have is a little Atlas 6,000 pound little scissor lift. I don't do a whole lot of day-to-day work on it. It's specifically for projects like this. It's going to need a lift, but it's going to be on the lift for quite a long time. I don't tie up my other lifts. I can sit back here, and as I get time to work on it, I can. And not very expensive. And it has little wheels on it. You can move it out of the way. It's mobile. So anyways, the next thing we're going to do is take these flexible hoses off. So show you what kind of the quirks and things and features, as Doug DeMiro would say, of taking the brakes apart on this car. Okay, I got my little drip pan down here in case there's any fluid. I'm going to break loose these hard lines. It's amazing how easy this stuff's coming apart on this old of a car, but I'm not complaining. I'll take that. There's a little fluid there. Smells kind of bad. Actually, it smells very bad. And the next step is there's these little clips on here. I like to use needle nose on those. They come off real easy that way. This is what's holding the line to a little tab on the body. It just slides under there. Take that one off. Take this one off. There's our line, the flex hose. We're going to be replacing them. Owner Bill has bought these Goodrich steel braided cables to go in their place. But we're not doing this part yet. We're going to get everything apart so we can flush the lines out. So we lower the car back down, and what we're going to do now is flush the lines out. My little trick is that at each corner I put a drip pan underneath where the line is, and then I tie a rag around the line so when you blow air through it, it doesn't just blast flush solvent and brake fluid all over the paint job. We don't want that to happen. I put a little rag around the line, and that catches the spray, and then it'll drip down into the drip pan. And first thing we'll do is just blow air through the line. Then we'll put a little bit of what I use is denatured alcohol. It's not very harsh, and it'll clean and flush the lines out. There's just two lines, one for the front and one for the rear. And you can hear the fluid coming out into the pan. I'll put some solvent in it. You don't have to worry about putting too much pressure into these lines. I try to be careful in putting straight shop air into it. These lines handle way more PSI than your shop air is going to put out. So now the lines are clean. We've gone through and flushed them with air and then some denatured alcohol as a solvent. Cleaned all the contamination and old fluid out so we can put all this back together and know that we're not going to be putting old contaminated fluid into new parts. So here's a brand new part. The customer Bill has sent all new brake parts, everything brand new. These are pretty much identical. Some of them are even OEM Nissan Datsun parts, so that it's not too far from period correct. In fact, most of it is period correct. As you can see on the master cylinder, it has two bleed nipples just like the original did. Here in the future video to bleed it and do both the brakes and the clutch. We'll be bleeding it through these nipples here, and I have my Mighty Vac tool that hooks right onto here. We can bleed it, vacuum bleed it without spraying fluid all over the car. So we'll go ahead and put this in. Put these lines back on. Okay, so we got the lines on and tight. We got it mounted onto the bracket, nice and tight. So our installation of the master cylinder, except for bleeding the system, is done. So next we're going to move on to the front caliper. So a little bit about the pads and shoes that are on this car. They're Akebono and they're like a year old or less. There's no sense in throwing those out. They don't have age on them. They've really not even been used. We're going to remove the pads and shoes on this car and we're going to be reusing them. So I'm going to show you to take this caliper off, but we are going to be removing the rotors and resurfacing them, so that'll be done, just not in this video, but it will be done. You don't want to put rusty old rotors on brand new pads. So the first step to get the pads off on these is these little clips. They're called R-clips. Right here. You take the little pins out. There's some anti-rattle clips that are in here. And the next step is we pull the brake pad straight out. If these are compressed and it's hard to get out, you can get a flat screwdriver and lightly just pry on them just enough to get enough of the tension off and get them out. There's a little shim on the back. We want to keep that with each pad. As you can see, they're like new Akebono pads. We want to take off this little S-shaped line here because we're going to be installing that on the new caliper. You'll want to flush that little line out there too, get any contamination out. And then we're to the bolts that actually hold it to the spindle here. So there's our old caliper. For safety reasons, as long as this car's been sitting, we're not going to chance it. We're just going to replace it. Now we're going to take off this rotor to get it resurfaced. If you're going to be replacing the rotor, then you'll take this apart and then take the rotor and separate it from this hub. I have a shop in town that does these for me for a lot cheaper than I can buy a machine for. So I have them resurface it. They're going to need the hub assembled on there. So the caliper, just as we disassemble it, goes right back together the same way. I like to grease the little pins with high temp grease and the anti-rattle clips so that it all is nice and easy to go back together. But same as you took it apart, it goes back together the same way. I wouldn't be surprised if that's factory grease. It even has an O-ring. I've not seen that on dust caps. This has an O-ring on it. That's pretty interesting. Go ahead and take the cotter pin out. I usually take the little piece and just put them back in their dust cap. And usually these are loose enough on most cars that on the nut here, take it off your needle nose. There's the washer and the nut. If you're not familiar with taking rotors off, just make sure you keep track of the order that you took everything apart and put it back together the same way. Outside wheel bearing. And the rotor comes off. So we still have the inner wheel bearing and the seal. For the people that are going to be resurfacing this, I'm going to use CarQuest. That's who I use. They have a machine there. They can't put it in the machine with this stuff that's still in here, the seal. You got to take that out. So I'll show you a little trick that one of my mentors told me to get that out real fast and easy without a bunch of fuss. Put the nut back on, several threads here. And slip the bearing up over the nut. You can feel when you pull it, it catches. You just pull one time really hard. There's your seal and your inner wheel bearing. Typically, you can reuse the seal if it's still good. We're going to replace it because it's old. That's a nice little trick that saves a bunch of hammering or chiseling or trying to knock it out. It's real fast and easy that way. The reassembly is the same. You check the torque specifications on the nut. We'll look that up and get to that point when we reassemble it. So we're going to go ahead and put on our flex hose up front just so it's there and ready to go when we get our rotors resurfaced and ready to go back together. Go ahead and put the clip onto this one. Again, don't forget to tighten the fitting on these. Now that's ready for when we get the rotor resurfaced. We can put it all back together with a new caliper. And we will have had all the brake hydraulic components replaced. Okay, so we just finished up the front brakes and the master cylinder on this car. We've got the rotors off to be resurfaced, and we'll be reassembling that here pretty soon. In the next video, we'll be tackling the rear drums, and that's going to take a little bit longer. This is a lot more involved than just taking the calipers off. But any of the tools you see that I'm using you like, click the link below and it takes you to an Amazon affiliate, and there's some tools there if you'd be interested in purchasing them. Save you a lot of time and help me out in the long run too. Hit the subscribe button, hit the little bell, and thanks for watching.